Equipment is cool but overrated. Your equipment isn't what makes you a great filmmaker, it's just a tool. But too many filmmakers hide behind it, focusing on the wrong thing. What actually sets you apart? Skill, cinematography, branding, storytelling, and knowing how to sell emotion. Because emotion is what sells, not expensive lenses or fancy cameras. People don't want to be sold, they want to feel. They crave stories that are relevant, entertaining, relatable, and inspiring. So forget the fancy tools and begin mastering the craft.
Real creativity comes from constraints. So I know I have the Sony a7S III with the Sigma 24-70 lens. That itself is already $5,000. And I have a $2,000 computer. So I'm not saying that to brag or anything, but having a lot of gear can sometimes destroy your creativity. Like for an example, just setting up for this shoot, I had to bring my camera, the lens, my backpack, this suction cup to film this, the mist filter lens, which I'm going to try out for the first time today. I had to bring all this equipment and my lav mic, which I'm wearing right now. I have to bring all this equipment and it took maybe half an hour to an hour just to set up and make sure everything is charged. Imagine if I had to bring more gear, like another lens, a drone, a gimbal, bounce boards, stuff like that. That could really destroy my creativity and just take a lot longer to set up. Sometimes it's better when you don't have the latest gear or when you don't have a lot of gear. So that way you could really think outside the box and get creative. It gives a false sense of accomplishment. A lot of filmmakers think that purchasing the latest gear will make them feel successful and make them feel that they've accomplished something. But in reality, they just spent money. They spend money on gear that they don't really need. What they really need is skills. They need to master the craft, whether that's storytelling or other aspects in filmmaking. And they tell themselves, I'm investing in my business. I'm investing in myself so I can improve as a filmmaker. But buying new gear doesn't make you a better filmmaker. It just makes you a lazy filmmaker. This is really good. The I'll start when excuse. I'll start when I get the latest camera. I'll start when I get the latest drone, the latest lens, the latest gimbal. Filmmakers tend to procrastinate and wait for the latest gear and they end up not shooting. For an example, I never flew my drone because I had the DJI Spark. And as you know, the Spark is really not the greatest drone in terms of quality, and I've always wanted to get the DJI Mini 4 Pro or the Air. And as soon as I got the Mini 4 Pro, I used it maybe like 2-3 times, and the last time I used it was when I went to Hawaii, and that was in August, about 4 months ago, and I haven't used it ever since. So that just proves that you don't need to wait for the latest gear. You could shoot by the equipment that you already have. By waiting for the latest gear, you start procrastinating and you never end up shooting. The point of filmmaking is to create films with story and emotion, don't focus on the equipment. Loss of minimalist discipline. A lot of filmmakers think that they need to bring so much equipment to a shoot when in reality they need to bring their creativity. They tend to bring more cameras than needed, more lighting, more mics, more tripods, more gimbals, more of everything. And it just overcomplicates the entire shoot. For me, I'm the complete opposite. I only bring the equipment that I need. Like for example, I have the camera, the lens, the tripod, and my mic. That's it. Because if I bring more, it's just gonna be more complicated. It's gonna destroy my creativity, and I'm just gonna focus on the equipment. I wanna focus on being creative, the composition, the cinematography, and most importantly, the story. So less is more in some scenarios. You rely on gear instead of networking. A lot of filmmakers think that just by getting the latest equipment, they're gonna get the highest paying clients or get more clients. And that could be the case. If you invest in a 4K camera, you could charge more. But what really pays the bills is the relationships you build. The relationships you build with business owners or other fellow filmmakers. Go to more networking events, go to more conferences, go to more film festivals. A lot of people with money go to film festivals. So what really matters is the relationships you build. My mentor calls it the relationship equity. So make sure you invest into your relationships and help them out. Don't be selfish and just think about you. Think about your relationships. What can you do for them? What can you do to help? Is there advice you could give them or anything like that? be kind, be nice, be helpful, focus on relationships, invest more on relationships, and you can make more money and create better films. Gear versus skill. I want you to have a mindset shift. Instead of asking yourself, what kind of equipment do I need to buy? Ask yourself this question instead. What kind of skill do I need to improve? Or what kind of skill do I need to learn? By allowing you to shift this mindset, it allows you to focus on what truly matters, and that's skills. You need to be focusing on storytelling, on selling emotion, marketing, branding, and other aspects in filmmaking. Instead of watching the latest gear review about the drone or the camera, I recommend you watching videos about storytelling so that way you can master your craft and you could attract higher paying clients. The hustle versus laziness dynamic. A lot of filmmakers think that they're working so hard because they have all this equipment, they've invested on all this equipment, and they think that they're working so hard, they're hustling, right? But in reality, they're kind of lazy because they're focusing on the wrong thing. Rather, they should be focusing on skills, how to generate more skills, stack more skills like branding, marketing, storytelling, how to sell emotion, stuff like that. Because buying new gear and learning how to use that gear is honestly not that hard. It's pretty easy. There are so many tutorials on YouTube. You could easily learn that piece of equipment in less than 2 hours. But the real hustle comes from storytelling, branding, marketing. That's where the real hustle, that's where the real grind is. Because a lot of clients, they pay for that, not the equipment. And filmmakers tend to procrastinate and focus on the easy stuff, not easy stuff, the actual easy stuff. And they tend to forget about the actual hard stuff that actually pays the bills, that actually attracts high paying clients. So don't be that filmmaker. The gear obsession trap. So when it comes to any career or any hobby and you want to turn that hobby into a career or you want to make more money in your career, the one thing you need to do is be obsessed with that thing. So when it comes to obsession, it creates focus and it creates results. So you got to be obsessed with every little nuance. In this case, filmmaking, you got to be obsessed with storytelling, emotion, angles, composition, music, sound effects, editing, color grading, all the nuance and all the aspects involved into creating a film. But filmmakers are obsessed with the wrong thing. They're obsessed with gear rather than storytelling or the skills that actually help them get the clients they want. The importance of mastery over gear. So whether you hop into a specific career or hobby or sport, there's something super powerful about mastery. Bruce Lee has a quote that demonstrates this specific topic. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. For an example, I've had this camera, the Sony a7S III, for over 4 years now. And at this point, I know every button. I could convert from video to photo really quick. I could change the settings in seconds because I've mastered this camera. I've also mastered all the other equipment that I have, whether it's microphones, lighting, gimbal, whatever that may be. Almost every gear I currently have, I've had for over 2 years now. I don't really buy new equipment every year, only if I really, really need to. So ask yourself this, have I really mastered the gear that I have? If not, go back, go watch some videos, and really master the gear that you currently have. Budget allocating for what truly matters. And I know this video I've been talking about all about gear and talking crap about gear, but ultimately it all comes down to skill. So make sure you put your money where it actually belongs, not just gear, but put your money into online courses, hiring a coach, watching free YouTube videos. You don't have to spend money. There are a lot of free resources out there that require no money, just internet, which we all have. If you're watching this video, you have access to internet. So you could watch all of these free tutorials. When I first started my filmmaking career, I purchased an online course called Full-Time Filmmaker, and that costed me $600. And at that time, it was probably the scariest investment I've ever made, probably the first investment I've ever made. But looking back, it's definitely the best investment I've ever made. Definitely the best decision I've ever made. Thankfully, I made that decision because it paid off by like 10x. Also, this camera cost me $5,000. I ended up paying for it in 2 months. So if you want to be a successful filmmaker and turn this into a career, make money from your camera, you gotta focus on two things: skills and relationships. Money is a byproduct, so focusing on those two things, the money will naturally come.